Want me to stand up? I don't stand for city judges. I am the high sheriff. You can take your gavel and shove it.
Sheriff, you might run your county, but you are in my house now. And that gesture you just made, that just cost you your freedom. Bailiff locked the doors. You know, in 40 years on this bench, I have learned that the most dangerous man in the world is not a criminal with a gun. It is not a gang leader. It is not a thief. It is a man with a badge who believes he is above the law. We call them badge heavy. Officers who forget that their power is a loan from the people, not a gift from God. They start to believe that because they enforce the rules do not apply to them. They believe they are the kings of their own little kingdoms. On a scorching Tuesday afternoon in July, a man walked into my courtroom who didn't just believe he was above the law, he believed he was the law. His name was Sheriff James, Big Jim Reynolds. He was the elected sheriff of a neighboring county. He was famous in Rhode Island, but for all the wrong reasons. He had been in office for 20 years. He wore a cowboy hat, even indoors. He drove a surplus military tank to parades. He ran his county like it was the Wild West, and he was the only gunslinger in town. He was in my court because he had arrested a homeless man for vagrancy and loitering. But it wasn't a normal arrest. It wasn't about public safety. The homeless man was a decorated Marine veteran, and the sheriff didn't arrest him to keep the streets safe. He arrested him because he wanted to seize the veteran's car, a beautifully restored 1969 Mustang under civil asset forfeiture laws. He wanted to steal the car, sell it at a private auction to his own family, and put the money into his department's party fund. When Sheriff Reynolds stood before me, he didn't offer a defense. He offered an insult. He laughed. He leaned back in his chair. And he made a gesture at me that I have never seen a law enforcement officer make in open court. A gesture so disrespectful, it silenced the entire room. He thought his badge was a shield. He thought I would be afraid of his political power. He thought I would be afraid of the 3 armed deputies he brought with him as security. But he didn't know that sitting in the very back row, wearing plain clothes, was his own chief deputy. And he didn't know that the deputy had brought a recording that would end Big Jim's reign forever. Before I tell you how this sheriff went from king of the county to inmate number 45, I want to ask you a favor. This sheriff thought he was the king of his county. He thought he could hide his crimes in the dark. He thought no one outside his jurisdiction mattered. But he forgot one thing. This courtroom doesn't just belong to his county. It belongs to the world. So please, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now? And since we are in this season of giving, please add a Merry Christmases or Happy Holidays to your comment. Let's fill the comment section with peace and goodwill to show this angry man that kindness is stronger than corruption. And hit that subscribe button if you believe that no one is above the law. Now, let me tell you what happened. It was 1 p.m. The courtroom was sweltering. It was the hottest day of the summer, nearly 100 degrees outside. The air conditioning in the courthouse had broken down that morning, and tempers were short. The fans were spinning overhead, but they were just pushing hot air around. I was drinking my iced coffee, trying to stay cool, trying to keep my focus. My clerk, Christina, walked into my chambers. She didn't knock. She looked nervous. Her face was pale. "Judge," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "the sheriff is here, and he brought an army." I looked up. "He brought 3 deputies," she said. "They are armed. They are wearing tactical vests. They are standing outside the courtroom doors like bouncers at a nightclub. They are refusing to let the public in." I stood up. I felt the heat rising in my neck. And it wasn't just from the weather. "He is blocking a public courtroom?" I asked. "He says it's for security." Christina said, "He told the bailiffs that he doesn't feel safe in the city. But Judge, he smells like whiskey, and he is laughing." I put on my robe. I zipped it up tight. I walked into the courtroom, ready for a confrontation. It was true. 3 large deputies in tan uniforms were standing in front of the double doors. They had their arms crossed. They were blocking a line of people, mothers, elderly men, students who were waiting to enter for their hearings. "Officers," I shouted from the bench, "step aside immediately." The deputies looked at me. They didn't move. They looked at each other, confused. They were following orders, but they knew it was wrong. "This is an open court," I said, my voice booming. "Under the Constitution of the United States, the public has a right to witness these proceedings. If you do not move, I will have you arrested for obstruction of justice." The deputies hesitated. Then they looked at the man sitting at the defense table, Sheriff Reynolds. He was a giant of a man, 6'5". He was sitting with his legs sprawled out, taking up 2 chairs. He was wearing a tan uniform that was perfectly pressed, but the buttons looked like they were about to pop. A gold star badge, the size of a dinner plate, was pinned to his chest. He had a white Stetson hat sitting on the table in front of him. He turned his head slowly. He looked at his deputies. He smiled a lazy, arrogant smile. "Let him in, boys," Reynolds drawled. "Let the judge have his audience. I like a crowd." The deputies moved. The public poured in, looking scared and confused. They filled the benches, whispering, looking at the massive sheriff who seemed to fill the entire room with his presence. I took the bench. I adjusted my microphone. I looked at Reynolds. He didn't stand up. He was leaning back, picking his teeth with a wooden toothpick. He looked like he was watching a baseball game, not a trial. "All rise," the bailiff called out, louder than usual. Everyone in the room stood up. The lawyers, the victims, the gallery, everyone except Sheriff Reynolds. He stayed seated. He crossed his ankles. He looked at the ceiling. "Sheriff," I said, "in this courtroom, we stand when the session begins." Reynolds chuckled. It was a deep, gravelly sound. "I'm tired, Judge. Had a long night fighting crime. My knees aren't what they used to be. You understand." "I understand disrespect when I see it," I said. "Stand up." Reynolds rolled his eyes. He sighed loudly. He pushed himself up slowly, mocking the process, making a show of how much effort it took. He stood, but he leaned heavily on the table, looking bored. "State of Rhode Island versus James Reynolds," I announced. "Case number 404. Charges: false imprisonment, abuse of power, and grand larceny." "Larceny?" Reynolds laughed. He looked at the gallery, trying to get them to laugh with him. "Did you hear that? Larceny. That's a fancy word for police work, Judge. I seized a vehicle involved in a crime. That is standard procedure. It happens every day." "We will see about that," I said. I looked at the victim, Mr. Arthur Penhaligon. He was sitting at the plaintiff's table. He was 60 years old. He was wearing a flannel shirt and jeans that were clean but patched. He looked weather-beaten, like a man who had spent his life working outdoors. He had the rough, scarred hands of a mechanic. He was looking at the floor, refusing to make eye contact with the sheriff. He was holding a folded American flag on his lap. "Mr. Penhaligon," I said gently, "please stand and tell the court what happened." Arthur stood up. His voice was quiet, shaking slightly. "I was sleeping in my car, Your Honor," he said. "It was 2 a.m. on Tuesday. I was parked at the rest stop on the highway just outside the county line. I travel, sir. I don't have a house right now. I lost it after my wife passed." "And the car?" I asked. "Tell me about the vehicle." Arthur's face lit up for a second. "It's a 1969 Mustang, Judge. Fastback. Cherry red. I bought it in 1970 when I got back from Vietnam. It was a wreck. I restored it myself. Took me 10 years. Every bolt, every wire, it's all I have left. It's my home." "And what happened that night?" The sheriff pulled up, Arthur said, pointing a trembling finger at Reynolds. "He shined his spotlight in my window. He banged on the glass with his baton. He told me I was vagrant. He told me I was loitering." "Did you offer to leave?" I asked. "Yes, sir. I started the engine. I told him I would move along, but he blocked me in. He told me to get out. And then he arrested me," Arthur said, tears forming in his eyes. "He put me in the back of his cruiser. He didn't read me my rights. And then he called a tow truck. But it wasn't a normal tow truck. It was a flatbed from his brother's garage." Arthur wiped his face. "I heard him, Judge. I was in the back seat. He told the driver, 'Take it to the private lot. Keep it off the books. This one is a beauty. I might bid on it myself.'" The courtroom gasped. "Judge, Arthur whispered. He didn't impound it. He stole it. He took my home. I looked at Sheriff Reynolds. He wasn't ashamed. He was smiling. He looked amused. Sheriff, I said, is this true? Did you arrest a man for sleeping in his car just to seize his vehicle? He was a vagrant, Reynolds boomed. His voice filled the room, drowning out the murmurs. He was trash cluttering up my highway. We have laws against loitering in my county. I cleaned up the streets, and under civil asset forfeiture for vehicles used in the commission of a crime, we can seize it. The crime was loitering. The car was the tool. It's legal, Judge. Look it up. Civil asset forfeiture, I said, my voice tight, is designed to take drug money from cartels. It is not designed to take a classic car from a homeless veteran sleeping at a rest stop because he has nowhere else to go. The law is the law, Reynolds shouted. I interpret the law in my county, not you. I am elected. The people voted for me. They want clean streets. They don't want bums sleeping in rest areas scaring the tourists. You interpret the law to line your own pockets, I asked. I have the auction listing right here, Sheriff. I held up a piece of paper. The car is listed on your department's private auction site. Starting bid, $1,000. Estimated value, $60,000. And the only registered bidder is a Mr. Thomas Reynolds, your brother-in-law. The courtroom erupted. People were whispering furiously. Reynolds didn't flinch. My brother-in-law likes cars. It's a free country. Anyone can bid. If he wins, he wins. This is corruption, I said. Plain and simple. You are using your badge to run a car theft ring. Reynolds stood up. He slammed his hand on the table so hard the wood cracked. Watch your mouth, old man, he roared. You are talking to the high sheriff. I have put down riots. I have arrested killers. I don't need a lecture on ethics from a city judge who has never worked a beat. I keep this state safe. I looked at his lawyer. Standing next to Reynolds was Mr. Sterling. Yes, the same Sterling family, David Sterling, the high-priced defense attorney. He looked terrified. He was sweating through his suit. Mr. Sterling, I said, do you have a legal defense for this, or is your client just going to scream at me? Sterling stood up. He adjusted his tie nervously. Your Honor, Sterling said, my client argues that he has qualified immunity. He believes his actions were within the scope of his duties as an elected official. He has broad discretion to determine what constitutes a public nuisance. Immunity doesn't cover theft, Counselor, I said, and it certainly doesn't cover fraud. I don't need immunity. Reynolds interrupted, pushing his lawyer aside. I have power. Do you know what I can do, Judge? I can have your car towed right now. I can have my deputies search your house. I can find a reason to arrest you for obstruction. I can make your life a living hell. Are you threatening me? I asked. Are you threatening a sitting judge in open court? Reynolds laughed. He leaned back in his chair again. He looked at the cameras in the back of the room. And then he did it. He raised his right hand. He looked me right in the eye. And he extended his middle finger. The gallery erupted. People stood up, shouting. Oh, my God! Someone yelled. My bailiff, Inspector Quinn, stepped forward, his hand on his taser. Reynolds held the finger up, smirking. He didn't care. I answer to the voters, Reynolds said. Not to you. Spin on this. I didn't yell. I didn't bang the gavel. I just looked at him. I looked at the finger. I looked at the arrogance. Inspector Quinn, I said calmly, lock the courtroom doors. Quinn walked to the back. Click, click. The heavy locks turned. The sound was final. Reynolds looked around. He looked at the doors. What are you doing? You can't keep me here. I have a lunch meeting. You just committed contempt of court, I said, and you threatened a judicial officer. That is a felony. You aren't going to lunch, Sheriff. You are going to jail. My deputies are right outside, Reynolds yelled. He grabbed his radio from his belt. Unit 1! Unit 1! Breach the courtroom! Get me out of here! The judge is hostile. Static. Silence. Unit 1, he screamed. Respond. This is the sheriff. Break down the door. Nothing. No response. No movement at the door. Your deputies aren't coming, Sheriff, a voice said from the back of the room. We all turned. Standing in the back corner, in the shadows, was a man in a tan uniform. It was a deputy, but he wasn't one of Reynolds' bodyguards. It was Chief Deputy Miller. He was young, maybe 30. He looked nervous. He was holding a folder. "Miller?" Reynolds asked. "What are you doing? Open the door. That's an order." "I can't do that, Sheriff," Deputy Miller said. His voice was shaking, but he stood his ground. He walked to the front of the courtroom. "Judge," Miller said, "I request permission to approach." "Granted," I said. Miller handed me the folder. "What is this?" I asked. "It's the dashcam footage from that night," Miller said. "The sheriff told me to delete it. He told me to wipe the server. He told me to destroy the hard drive. But I made a copy." Reynolds' face went purple. "You traitor! I made you! I promoted you! I will kill you! Sit down!" I shouted. "Play the video," I ordered. The screens in the courtroom flickered to life. We saw the rest stop. It was dark, grainy footage. We saw the sheriff's cruiser pull up. We saw Arthur sleeping in his car. We heard Reynolds' voice. It was loud and clear. "Look at that Mustang," Reynolds said on the video. "Cherry red. My brother would love that. That's a retirement gift right there." "Sheriff," Deputy Miller's voice said on the video, "the guy is just sleeping. He's a vet. See the sticker on the bumper? USMC. I don't care if he's George Washington." Reynolds said, "I want that car. Arrest him for vagrancy. Plant a bottle if you have to." The courtroom gasped. "Plant a bottle?" Miller asked on the tape. "Do it," Reynolds ordered. "I need probable cause to seize the asset. Toss the car. Find something. If you can't find it, make it. Put a whiskey bottle in the front seat." Then we saw Reynolds walk up to the window. We saw him smash the glass with his baton. We saw him drag Arthur out and throw him on the pavement. We saw him kick Arthur in the ribs. "Nice car, old man," Reynolds laughed on the video. "Thanks for the donation." The video ended. The courtroom was silent. The only sound was Reynolds breathing heavy, like a bull caught in a trap. I looked at him. "You planted evidence," I said. "You assaulted a veteran. You stole his property, and you ordered your deputy to commit a crime." Reynolds stood up. He was shaking. He looked at Miller. "It's a fake!" he screamed. "Miller doctored it. He wants my job. It's a coup. I am being framed." "It is the truth," Deputy Miller said. "And Sheriff, the state police are outside. I called them an hour ago. They are waiting for you." Reynolds looked at the doors. He looked at the window. He looked for a way out. "You can't do this," he yelled. "I am the sheriff. I am the Constitution. I am untouchable." "You are a criminal," I said. I picked up my gavel. "I am finding you guilty of contempt," I said. "I am finding you guilty of grand larceny, and I am binding you over for trial on corruption charges." "Bailiff," I said, "arrest him." Inspector Quinn moved in. Reynolds reached for his belt, but his gun was already gone. He had checked it at the door. "Don't touch me," Reynolds screamed. "I command you to stand down. I am your superior." Quinn didn't listen. He spun the sheriff around. He grabbed his wrists. He clicked the handcuffs on. Click, click. "These are too tight," Reynolds whined. "You are hurting me." "Now you know how Arthur felt," Quinn said. As they dragged him out, Reynolds was still screaming. "I will be reelected. The people love me. This is a witch hunt. I will burn this city down." "The people deserve better," I said. The doors closed behind him. I looked at Arthur Penhaligon. He was staring at the empty doorway. He looked shocked. "Mr. Penhaligon," I said. He looked at me. "I am dismissing all charges against you," I said, "and I am issuing an order for the immediate return of your vehicle. It will be released from the impound lot today. No fees." Arthur looked up. He was crying. "Thank you, Judge. But the window. He broke the window. I can't afford to fix it. And the scratches?" I looked at Deputy Miller. "We will fix it," Miller said. "The department will pay for it. I will pay for it myself if I have to. And we found a hotel for you, Arthur, for as long as you need. We are going to make this right." Arthur walked over to the young deputy. He shook his hand. "Thank you, son. You did the right thing. That took guts." "It was an honor, sir," Miller said. 6 months passed. I received a letter. It wasn't from Arthur. It was from the governor. Sheriff Reynolds had been sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He lost his pension. He lost his badge. The letter included a picture. It was from the 4th of July parade. In the picture, Arthur was driving his Mustang. It was shiny. The window was fixed. He had a sign on the door. Veteran, survivor. And riding shotgun? Chief Deputy Miller, the new interim sheriff. You see, a badge doesn't make you the law. Integrity does. Reynolds walked in thinking he was a king. He left realizing he was just a man who broke the rules. And that is why I love this job. Thanks for listening, and God bless.